Hi, I'm Miss Amy, and this is Wesley, and we're going to tell you a story today. It's Mr. Peabody's Apples, okay, and it was written by Madonna. Okay, you ready to read? Thank you. Okay, there's a tree at the end if you listen nicely. So, Mr. Peabody's Apples. This is about the town of Happyville. Do you like Happyville? How pretty. Okay, a ball game. Saturday afternoon, right? It's a ball game. In the town of Happyville, which wasn't a very big town, Mr. Peabody was congratulating his little league team on a great game. They had not won, but nobody really cared because they had such a good time playing. Mr. Peabody was the history teacher at the local elementary school, and in the summertime he dedicated every Saturday to organizing baseball games with the other schools. Little Billy, who wasn't a very big boy, was one of Mr. Peabody's students. He loved baseball more than anything, and he thought Mr. Peabody was the greatest. After each game, he would always stay and help to pick up the bats and the balls, and when they were finished, Mr. Peabody would smile and say, "Thanks, Billy. Good job. I'll see you next Saturday." Okay, this is Mr. Peabody congratulating the team. Then he would start his walk home along the main street of Happyville, which wasn't a very big street, waving hello to everyone he knew, and everyone would wave hello back. Along the way, he always passed Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market. Here, Mr. Peabody would stop a minute and admire Mr. Funkadeli's fresh apples. He would pick out the shiniest apple, drop it in his bag, and continue on his way. Across the street, Tommy Tittlebottom watched with curiosity as Mr. Peabody walked away with the apple. "Strange," said Tommy. Mr. Peabody didn't pay for the apple. Tommy got on his skateboard and rushed to tell his friends. This is Mr. Peabody picking the shiniest apple. See that? You would not think twice about snatching that apple. The following Saturday, Mr. Peabody's team played another game, and they lost as usual, but no one seemed to care because they had such a good time playing. Billy picked up the balls and bats, and Mr. Peabody set off on his way home. He waved to everyone he knew, and they waved back. Once again, he stopped outside Funkadeli's fruit market and picked out the shiniest apple, dropped it in his bag, and continued on his way. Across the street, Tommy Tittlebottom and his friends watched Mr. Peabody and were amazed at what they saw. Mr. Peabody had not paid for his apple. They couldn't wait to tell their friends, who told their parents, who told their neighbors, who told their friends in the town of Happyville, which was not a very big town. Okay. Is everybody watching? That Saturday afternoon, Mr. Peabody was standing all alone in the baseball field, wondering where everybody was. Then he saw Billy walking towards him with a sad look on his face. "Hello, Billy, I'm glad you're here, but where's the team?" said Mr. Peabody. Billy remained silent. "What is it, Billy?" he said. Billy didn't look up. "Everyone thinks you're a thief," he said to the crowd. Mr. Peabody was confused. He took off his hat and scratched his head. "Who says I'm a thief, Billy? And what did I steal?" Tommy Tittlebottom and his friends said they saw you take an apple from Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market twice, and they said you didn't pay for them, answered Billy. "Ah," said Mr. Peabody, putting his hat in the back of his head. "Let's go talk to Mr. Funkadeli about it." This is Mr. Peabody. And this is Billy telling him, "Everybody takes your thief." Wesley, let's say that. Say it. Pay attention. Get a treat if you pay attention. Just say it. They walked down the main street, which wasn't a very big street, and Mr. Peabody waved to all the people he knew. And now some of them did not wave back, and some pretended they didn't even see him. They finally arrived at Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market. Out popped Mr. Funkadeli, who said, "Hey, what are you doing here, Mr. Peabody? Aren't you at the game?" "There wasn't a game today," said Mr. Peabody, "and I was wondering if I could take my apple juice earlier than usual." "Sure," said Mr. Funkadilly. "You pay for them every Saturday morning when you pick up your milk. You can take them whenever you like. You want the big shiny one, right, Mr. Peabody?" Mr. Peabody took his apple, smiled, and offered it to Billy. "I would like to take the apple, Mr. Peabody, but I have to go and find Tommy and explain everything," said Billy. "When you find him, ask him to come over to my house. I would like to speak to him too," said Mr. Peabody. Mr. Peabody offers the apple. Oops. A little while later, Billy found Tommy and told him what happened with the apples. He told Tommy that Mr. Peabody wanted to speak to him right away. So off Tommy ran, and when he arrived, he rang the doorbell, and Mr. Peabody came to the door. They looked at each other for a while. "Oh dear, Mr. Peabody," said Tommy. "I didn't understand. I should have said what I said, but it looked like you hadn't paid for the apples." Mr. Peabody's eyebrows went up a little. He felt a warm breeze blow across his face. "It doesn't matter what it looked like. What matters is the truth." Tommy looked down at his shoes and said, "I'm so sorry. What can I do to make things better now?" Mr. Peabody took a deep breath, looked up at a small cloud in the sky, and said, "I'll tell you what, Tommy. Meet me in the baseball diamond in 1 hour and bring a pillow stuffed with feathers." "Okay," said Tommy, who ran off to his house to get a pillow. As Tommy rings Mr. Peabody's bell. An hour later, Tommy met Mr. Peabody on the pitcher's mound. "Hello, Tommy," said Mr. Peabody. "Follow me and bring your pillow." Tommy followed Mr. Peabody to the top of the bleachers, wondering what that was all about. "It's a windy day," said Mr. Peabody. When they reached the top, Tommy nodded his head in agreement. "Well, here's a pair of scissors. Cut the pillow in half and shake all the feathers out." Tommy looked confused, but did it anyway. He thought it was a small price to pay to gain Mr. Peabody's forgiveness. The wind carried thousands of feathers far and wide. This is Tommy meets Mr. Peabody on the pitcher's mound. And there's the pillow and all the feathers in the wind. Tommy looked relieved and said, "Is that all I have to do to make things better?" "No, there's one more thing," said Mr. Peabody. "Now you must go and pick up all the feathers." Tommy frowned. "I don't think it's possible to pick up all those feathers." "It would be just as impossible to undo the damage you have done by spreading the rumor that I am a thief," said Mr. Peabody. "Each feather represents a person in Happyville." This is Tommy. Every feather represents a person. There was a long pause, and Tommy began to understand what Mr. Peabody was saying. Finally, he said, "I guess I have a lot of work in front of me." Mr. Peabody smiled and said, "Indeed you do. Next time, don't be so quick to judge a person, and remember the power of your words." And then he handed Tommy a shiny red apple and made his way home. Mr. Peabody makes his way home. And there's Tommy's pillow, all sewn up. The end. The book was inspired by a nearly 300-year-old story that was told to me by my Kabbalah teacher. It stayed with me for a long time. And when I began to write books for children, I decided to share the essence of the story in one of them. It's about the power of words, how we must choose them carefully to avoid causing harm to others. The Baal Shem Tov, master of the good name, who was the author of the original story, was also a great teacher. He was born in 1700 in Peabody, a region of Ukraine, and dedicated his life to teaching and helping others. Among his many teachings, he stressed the value and importance of love for all people. I hope I have done this story justice. Madonna. Wesley, did you like that story or did you fall asleep? Did you want a treat? Did you want a treat? Sit up. Okay. Do you think you've been good? Think you've been good? Let's see if we can find you a treat. Let's see if I have anything. Oh, I don't think I have anything. Do I have anything for you? Look what I have. Look what I have. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Who's a good boy? Okay. You want another one? Sit up. Sit up. Okay. Thank you. One more. Just one more.